Hi, I'm Gavin Coyle. I'm the CEO of Coyle Group and SafetyJobs.io. I have over 25 years experience in health and safety, and I've worked with leaders in the power stations, wind energy, construction and utility sectors. I know and I understand the problems that leaders have within these industries, and I've had first-hand experience working with leaders in trying to solve these issues. What we've done is we've produced a series of webinars to try and support and help your management and your team look at different areas and tips in order to improve and to solve some of these issues. We hope you enjoy this webinar today, and we look forward to producing more content for you in the future. So we'll get straight into the first slide. The first slide is about competency. So what is a competent person? In Ireland, competency is defined as a person with the required skill, education and experience specific to the task to be performed. This is important. It's a definition within law. In other jurisdictions, there's different definitions of competency, but I like to use the experience, knowledge and qualification because it's just very clear. So if somebody says to you, what is a competent person? Use that analogy is what we would suggest. It's a quick, sharp introduction as regards what is competency. Establish competence criteria. What do we mean by that? Well, you want to establish what sort of competency fits into your business. So if you, for example, you're a construction company and most of your work is actually in high-rise construction, it's not civil engineering construction where guys might be in a trench. It's not mechanical engineering where guys might be working with piping. It's not electrical engineering where guys might be working with electrics. It might be just construction in a high-rise environment, which is mixed developments. Well, then the competency that you would be looking for is, does this person have the competency to work at height, has worked with solutions at height, knows how to find solutions where people have to work in high-risk situations. So establish from a very outset that is your competency criteria. So what is a competent candidate? A competent candidate needs to be somebody with technical skills. They need to have core competencies, and they need to have behavioural skills. The behavioural skills is the important part that we want you to focus in on, because behavioural skills is, can that person be worked with? Can you work with that person? Can that person fall into the team? Does that person have leadership qualities? Does that person have the likability factor? Does the person have empathy? So we've found in the past, in our experience, where people might be very, very competent in terms of their application and their education and their technical ability to deliver the job. But when it came to actually delivering the message, they didn't have the proper or the workability, the likability factor. And this has gone against them in the sense that they weren't able to bring people with them. They weren't able to collaborate. They weren't able to get their message across. So the behavioural side of things is a very important part that we would ask you to zone in on when you're talking about competency. And what we would suggest is that you have a scorecard. And the scorecard system would be weighted maybe 1 to 5, 5 being, not very good, or 1 being very good, or vice versa, whichever suits yourself. And that you and your team would have the scorecard when assessing each of these CVs from the very start. And then as you go through the interview process, you continually go back to your scorecard to update your scorecard so that you have a common approach towards a structure of how to assess the competency of the individual. The next slide is IOSH have a competency framework diagram. It's very important in terms of benchmarking what is competency within health and safety. And so, for example, when you look at the diagram, there will be different parts of the diagram that you can zone in on. So, for example, if it was an executive leader that you're looking for, the executive leader would be someone that you would want to have a good mindset for strategy. Whereas if you were taking on an intern or a graduate person into a role, that person you'd be likely more to look at the behavioural side of things. So does this person get on within the team? Have they got leadership qualities? Have they got the likability factor? So, your scoring can be actually manipulated to align with the framework, with the IOSH framework. And we would encourage you to actually look at the framework when you're building your scorecard so that you can determine, well, what is 5 and what is 4 and where does that apply with this particular role that you have for your business. So we're going to show you a video now which IOSH have released in terms of competency, and again you'll see that within the video there's a large emphasis on the behavioural aspect of competency. It's an interesting video to follow because it aligns with exactly what we're talking about here today in terms of communication. So I'll let the video take a run, and we'll come back to you then with the next slide after the video.
Over the last 10 years, I have seen such a staggering change within organisations. The modern day professional is actually being asked a lot more in terms of the demands and pressures on themselves within business, the demands and pressures within society. Reflecting in that is our ability to understand better leadership, competency, engagement, communication. Being an inspector of sites and an investigator of incidents is no longer enough. We have to be strategically aligned into the operating model of the organisation, and we actually have to be making a significant difference. We need to be sat at the different tables at board level, at executive level, at managerial level, and working very closely with operatives and employees so we are making a profound difference within the organisations that we serve and support. Because let's face it, as an IOSH professional, health and safety professionals, we generally have no budget, we have no resource, and therefore we have no authority. Our greatest skill is our ability to communicate, and when we do it well, we can have an immense impact across the organisation. So the competency framework is a game changer for the profession. It provides the skills, competencies and behaviours the modern day OSH professional needs, and it's been based on research that IOSH has undertaken over a plethora of different sectors and industries, speaking to a wide variety of professionals. It is going to make quite a significant impact not only on your individual professional development but also on your teams. Have a look, see how you can benefit, and your organisation will benefit also.
So as we've seen from the video, communication within health and safety is absolutely paramount. The next slide that we're going to go through is technical competencies. So technical competencies, one of the first subjects we'd like to discuss is the legal framework and the health and safety legislation that your health and safety advisor, safety officer, safety manager needs to know. So what do we mean by that? You know, people have this concept that a health and safety person knows health and safety law inside out, when the reality is not everybody will know the law inside out. It's not exactly a fundamental of getting access as a health and safety professional. You need to be aware of the law and you need to be aware of the principles of the law, but you don't need to be able to quote the law from scratch. So, you know, there's legal people that does that, and that's why, you know, you have a legal profession. From a health and safety point of view, you do need to understand, you know, risk assessment. So what is risk assessment? Why is risk assessment important for business? And what is the legislation around risk assessment? So, for example, we all need to have a risk assessment. We all need to risk assess the workplace. Why do we need to do that? Because we need to understand the risks. And if we don't understand the risks, and those risks haven't been transferred as information to the relevant parties, well then accidents could and will happen. So in your scorecard, when you're looking at health and safety law and you're thinking about, you know, weighting your questions, we would be advising, you know, where does this person get access to health and safety law? How do they inform themselves of health and safety law? How do they make themselves aware of changes in health and safety law? Are they signed up to particular magazines, particular forums that they can get access to health and safety law? Are they signed up to particular softwares that gives them, instant changes in health and safety law? How does this person inform themselves about changes in safety? Or are they just finding out by default? Or have they always been finding out information from their peers or by other people? Because, that will determine how passionate the person is about health and safety. Are they doing this thing? Are they finding out information because they want to find out information? Because now you can see that they have an active passion and involvement in health and safety, rather than just going through the motions and then finding out by default. So your scorecard system would be a great idea to put in, a particular score as regards how that person informs themselves and keeps themselves informed. Risk management is the next topic that we're going to discuss, and it falls back in with how is the person keeping themselves informed with risks. Your particular business, only you know, and only your existing employees know just how important the risks are within your business. You're able to identify those risks. So what we would say is that, get your top 4 or 5 risks together and then be able to put them into context of a scoring metric, so that when you come to the interview stage with the individual, that you're able to weight those particular risks and the answers to those particular risks that person has given you. It's important that you also understand, again, how much of a risk tolerance does this individual have. Are they, kind of blasé in terms of how they deal with certain risks, or are they maybe over the top too much in terms of risks? And what we've seen in the past is we've seen examples where people are over the top maybe with risks, that they're too heightened because they're afraid of a particular situation, and sometimes that has made them have a paralysis, and that they're not able to make decisions. So understand risk tolerance of your company, and understand what your appetite is for risk, and see, does that individual actually align with the risk tolerance of your business. When talking about risk management, also, if it's a person in an executive level position, risk management could be business continuity. So what understanding has this individual in terms of building a business continuity plan for your business or for a previous business? Can they give examples of where they have made an impact and they've actually controlled a situation that could have gone completely out of control because they had this fantastic business continuity risk management plan? What does that look like? And can they share some ideas of how that's made an impact for their previous customers, their previous clients, their previous companies? It's very important that you can ask for relevant examples of where a person in an executive leadership role has made that impact. Whereas, you wouldn't ask a person that maybe had 2 to 3 years experience about business continuity, but you would ask them about risk management and the principles of risk management and how they've applied risks, applied controls of risks in certain scenarios, and for them to give you an example of that. So, for example, it could be a work at height situation and people were always using harnesses tied off to scaffolding, for example. How does that person see the risks with that type of control measure? And do they actually see a better way of doing it? And can they give examples of where they've done that in the past and how that has made a massive impact for the situation that they were involved in at the time? Next slide we're going to discuss is incident management. We would like to know how this person applies themselves in terms of dealing with an accident, an investigation, or an incident. A common question that you might put to the individual is about near misses. What is their understanding of a near miss? What is the definition of a near miss? How does that person manage an incident? Can they give a scenario where they were involved with a major catastrophic event, and how do they respond as an individual? So we've seen situations where people have frozen when it came to visibly getting involved in an accident situation, and as much and all as all the planning that they've done in the past, when it came to the accident incident, they had a paralysis and they weren't able to actually function properly to get the right information. So does this person have a structured account of how they can control a situation, and what is their personality in terms of dealing with an accident and incident investigation. You know, are they calm? You know, are they a person that has, you know, a very sort of level-headed type approach to an accident and incident, or are they somebody that, you know, is, you know, extremely passionate and very full on? And is that somebody that you're looking for, or is it somebody that actually, you know, shrinks a little bit and doesn't really want to get involved with the whole accident investigation side of things? So it's a very important part of health and safety for obvious reasons. And you want to know that this health and safety person can have the competency and have the application to make the right decisions at the right time, and to galvanize people in a situation that is very concerning at the time, and everybody's running around trying to solve the problems individually. But does the safety person, can they demonstrate that they actually bring people together for the better of what they need to get resolved on the day? And can they give you examples and scenarios of where they've made, again, a positive impact to controlling the situation? And how do they deal with the aftermath of, you know, witness statements, following up with the relevant authorities? And can they give you scenarios in that regard? Again, go back to your scorecard and list out, you know, the key points for you that are important for your business. Next slide, we're going to talk about is culture, and it's all the rage these days with behavioural-based safety programs and companies, you know, signing up to global programs for health and safety, BBS programs they call them. So you might ask the potential candidates, you know, have they experience of implementing a behavioural-based safety program into their company? You might ask them questions about what they believe is a great standard for behavioural-based safety. You know, it's a topical scenario at the moment in terms of what's going on, especially in the building sector, and how do you bring everybody together under one program. We have our own thoughts on it. That's a webinar for another day. But, you know, it'd be important for you to understand, have these people had experience and exposure to these behavior-based system programs before, and how did they see that these systems have made a positive impact or a negative impact? And it's important to ask the question, has it been positive or has it been negative, and why? And can they give you some feedback and scenarios of their experience in that regard? If they haven't experienced any sort of safety culture, it's going to be difficult for you to sort of onboard as candidate into a mid-level or a senior role, because if they haven't experienced it at this stage, you would have to ask yourself the question, where have they been, what experience have they had, and why is it that they haven't had this? Because every employer has some form of a safety culture program. The next slide is sustainability. So again, you're going back to your scorecard and you're saying to yourself, you know, what sort of sustainability programs has the safety person been involved in terms of health and safety? So, you know, how did they plan a particular program, and, you know, how did they plan for the future of that program be evolving, or, you know, staying with the company? And can they give you an examples of, you know, it could be a system of work, a safe system of work that they had designed, and that this safe system of work was a progression that would take 2 to 3 years, or that would be an immediate impact? And can they give you an examples of that? So leadership and management, you know, we've discussed it already. We've hit off it in terms of competencies and behavioural competencies. But again, you know, it's an important topic. Does this person have leadership qualities? Is a leader what you're looking for? You know, when you're looking at your own landscape as a company, where does this individual fit in? Is this person just going to be working from an office, or is the person going to have a field-based role and an office-based role? You know, and what does that look like? Do you need somebody that's going to be, you know, client-facing, or do you need somebody that's just going to be, you know, looking after your employees and your workers? So you have all these scenario questions to ask yourself. It's very important that you identify that at the very early stage before interviewing people, because if you don't get it right, you will then have to take resources away from other projects or from other things that they might be involved in to support the gaps that this new person has. And that then can cause conflict within your own team. Why am I doing this? This person's getting paid more than me. Why should I have to, take myself away from what I'm doing when I'm very busy to try and help this individual out, because they should know more. They're getting paid the same as me. This guy came in and told, or this person came in and told us all how great they were, and as it turns out, they're not as good at this particular element of it. So when we talk about leadership and management, leadership should be defined from a very early stage within your interview process. And what type of leadership? Is it high level, a medium level, or a low level leadership role? And again, your scorecard will reflect this. The next slide we want to discuss is strategy. So strategy would more fall into mid-level, high-level, executive level safety roles. A really good tip for you is to maybe discuss in your interview one with the potential candidates that you've got a vision for the company, explain that vision, and you might suggest to the candidates that you're going to bring on to the second interview that they develop a mock strategy for your business. So for example, we'd like you to go away, we'd like you to think about our business, and we'd like you to come back to us with a mock strategy of where you would see bringing our company into the next 3 years or 5 years in terms of health and safety. Found this to be very useful. If you get in touch with us, we can give you some pointers in that regard. We can give you some templates that you can use, but it's very simple for yourselves. If you understand your own business, give them the key points and ask them to come back. And as well as that, you're not putting them on the spot. They can go away in their own time, and they can design this strategy. It can be only, keep it to sort of 15, 20 pages max. And once that information comes back to you, that gives you a good understanding of how this person plans and plots and can see the vision for your company in terms of health and safety, and how they can put together all the elements of what you're looking for as a leader in your own industry, and how safety falls into that strategy. So really important topic. Again, we're more or less talking about mid-level, high-level, executive level when we talk about strategy. Next slide we're going to talk about is planning. We've seen brilliant people in health and safety in the past, and they've been fantastic in terms of their knowledge and in terms of their interaction with people, their likability factor, their empathy factor, and we keep on talking about likability and empathy as an important part, and it is an important part. It's probably more important than most things. However, if they can't plan and they can't execute, everything's going to fall apart. So where does it fall apart? It doesn't really fall apart until there's a problem. Where's the problem? There isn't really a problem until there's an accident or an incident, or somebody does something wrong. And then, when you unfold all of the scenario, you find out that this individual hadn't put the right paperwork in place, hadn't spoken to the right people, hadn't documented who they spoke to, hadn't communicated effectively in meetings, or hadn't arranged meetings to discuss this potential impact to the business. So, planning is a major topic to get your scoring right on your scorecard, because, if there's any doubt within the meeting that this person cannot plan properly, you're going to be the one that's going to end up having to plan for that person. And you don't want to be doing that, because this is going to cost your business more money. On the other hand, if it's a graduate role, an entry role, planning might not be the highest topic that you're looking for, but you can always train that person to plan properly, and then you will allow for that within your program when taking on this individual. Stakeholder management. So again, when we look at an individual in terms of a leadership role, for example, how do they interact with all the interested parties, with your clients? How would they interact with your board of management? How would they interact with your vendors, your suppliers, and your workers? And how does this person demonstrate that they can, put the glue together that creates a real good culture within your company? Can you get a good feeling from this individual that they have the personality to put together, to bring everybody together, and can they demonstrate that they've done it for other companies, and can they give you examples of how they've done it with other companies? Very important part. The negotiation of an individual to negotiate safety, to bring safety that is a topic to everybody's forefront. Has that person got that skill set to bring to your company? So again, focus in on that in terms of your scorecard. Very important. Personal performance. So, does this person have what it takes in terms of being dedicated to your role? And this is a very hot topic in recruitment and in all sectors at the moment. Is the personal performance of the individual. Are they committed to staying with your company? Are they committed to working with your company? Can they demonstrate where they've gone over and above and beyond what the call of duty is in order to show passion for your business? And we found in the last 5 years where that topic has been pulled into question because of salaries have been on the increase. As we all know, there is a lack of safety people within the global markets, so a lot more employers are looking for safety people these days than they have been, more so than probably ever. And so there's a temptation for individuals to look at other things and to be enticed away from your company. So what sort of loyalty has this individual got? And how have they applied that loyalty within the workplace? We'd always suggest, maybe even as well, to talk about to other safety people within other companies that may have worked with this individual and get some sort of feedback from them. How did they apply themselves within the business? Are they is there a trust factor with this person? So don't close yourself in terms of exactly what you're doing. Look to the wider community as well, because health and safety as an industry, it's a very small industry. You're going to find it very hard not to have come across this person, or other people not to have come across this person in another setting. Communication. So we discussed this earlier on, but how does this person get their point across? Have they a tendency to fly off the handle? We've seen experience of health and safety people who were very technically competent in terms of applying themselves to work, but when it came to communicating the message, they just couldn't get their message across. It wasn't that they were a bad safety person. It was just that element of communicating wasn't in their skill set. And what we found is that if you can't communicate health and safety, that's a major downfall for your business. Working with others. So has the person got the ability to connect with other people within the business? Can they demonstrate that they've worked within a large community of workers before, and they're able to interact within those individuals? So you might look at things like what do they do outside of work? Are they involved in sport? Are they involved in other things that shows that they have the ability to interact within teams? It's extremely important, especially when you're trying to put together a team to deliver a major project, or to work on a major project for yourself. This person needs to demonstrate that they can actively get in there, and when things are going wrong and there's problems within the business, or there's a problem within a project, that this person has the ability to galvanize and work with others to find solutions. And can they demonstrate that to you? It's extremely important that they can give you scenarios where they've made an impact and where they've actually got involved in solutions. And what were those solutions? And did they come up with the solutions, or were they relying on other people to come up with the solutions? So you can do a lot of digging in terms of finding out more information when you're at the interview stage, to see, was it them that made the solution? Was it them that manufactured the solution? And what was the bigger picture that they were looking as an outcome? Evidence of competency. So when we're talking about evidence of competency, we're talking about the qualifications that has led this person to where they are today. we've seen individuals that have put all the work side of things ahead of the actual qualification, and then they did the qualification afterwards. It was totally plausible. But at the same time, you know, before you actually get to a letter of offer, and you know, we've seen this in the past where you're looking for certificates, you're looking for validation, and you then double check and make sure that your HR team or whoever, before they send out the letter of offer, that you've done all the validation and that you've got all the certifications for this individual and that you've double checked them. The last slide obviously is further reading. There's some links here that we've put together that you can actually follow through and do some more research. But there's one thing that we didn't cover today, and that is that person that you're looking for within your own business? And we'd like you to think about that first, because we've seen some great success where somebody within your business has actually got a flair for health and safety, or they've proven themselves to actually go above and beyond their normal role by, you know, being very concerned about safety and wanting to make an impact for safety. So maybe that person might be a great person that you could actually bring through your own organization, that you can send them to college as part of their promotion into the health and safety role. And who else and who better to understand your business other than a worker that actually has worked with you for a number of years and knows all the risks, knows your business inside out, knows your clients, knows the workers, has the respect of your customers and has the respect of your workers. These individuals have been proven time and time again, if the right person is picked for the right reasons, to be a fantastic resource. And you don't have to take the risk, or you don't have to realize the risk of a bad hire, you know, and lose money and lose faith and lose motivation. So again, you know, it's an important way to finish up the webinar, but it's one thing to consider, is that diamond within your own business, and if they are, where are they, and have they got the motivation to actually go into health and safety? So what we've done with safetyjobs.io is developed a video interview process so that employers can send out videos of their company, number one, and that candidates can upload videos of themselves answering the questions. This is a great way that you can share videos amongst your team. So for example, if somebody wasn't able to make an interview today, like an operations manager or director, you could still go ahead with the video and then send that link on to the people that have missed the video, so that they can see the questions that was answered by that candidate on the day. This is a great tool that you can use within your own company that will benefit your company in terms of understanding the individual that you're trying to bring into your business. Please get in touch with us if you have any ideas for future content, or if you want us to help a challenge within your business. Take care, and we look forward to hearing from you very soon.